Hello, hello. How is everyone on today? I wanted to bring you one verse. It's Proverbs chapter 12, verse 4. A virtuous woman is a crown. I'm reading from the King James Version. A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband, but she that maketh ashamed is as rottenness in his bones. And so some of your translation, like the ESV and the NIV, the ESV is an excellent woman is the crown of her husband, but she who brings shame is like rottenness in his bones. And then the NIV version, a wife of noble character is her husband's crown, but a disgraceful wife is like decay in the bones. Now, what does this really mean here about being a virtuous woman? Well, we're going to get into this because Solomon, he's not telling his son or husbands in general to treat wives as they would a crown. He's not talking about that. But the thing is he is informing his son and anyone else who will listen that a woman with virtue will be viewed as a crown by her husband, while a woman without virtue will be perceived in the same grieving light as arthritis, right? That's one of the things. But also, normally the most important human relationship we will ever have is with a wife or husband. And that's a really true statement there. And so a good spouse will bring happiness. They're going to bring joy. They're going to bring success. But then where a bad spouse will cause much sorrow and misery. And you heard that before. If you're in a bad marriage, you are constantly being grieved. You have a lot of sorrow and misery, and you feel like there is this bondage up on top of you, until you are able to, seek the Lord and ask him to remove all those things, and that you seek peace and God can give it to you. But it's true about a bad marriage. You're going to suffer sorrow and misery, man or woman. But a virtuous woman is a crown to her husband. So we as women, if you are married, have to make sure that you're being that crown to your husband, that you are, not being a nagging wife, and you're doing what's right, and you're abiding by the things that a biblical marriage requires, right? And so when seeking a marriage partner, this is so true. You can't look at a marriage partner and just only look at the outside of that person. You got to really get to know them and really find out about the inside, and ask God for discernment, and make sure you're not marrying someone that's unequally yoked with you, and someone that aligns with your views. You're not going to agree on everything, but aligns with your views for the most part, because if you marry someone that's unequally yoked, that don't believe in God and you believe in God, and you're only looking at the good part, the outside, how good they look or she look or he look, you know what I'm saying? When I say that, he and she, not something else. But if you're only doing that, you can marry somebody that totally can bring you to much sorrow and misery. And that goes for man or woman. So you have to be very careful when seeking a marriage partner. We should consider the person's character. And that is very true. Looking at the heart, their character, and judging them righteous. Okay? We should consider the person's character and his or her commitment to Christ. Are they committed to Christ? And are their standards of living holy, as Christ's standards, his standards of holy living. You know what I'm saying? Because if you don't, lest you marry the wrong person and suffer a lifetime of regret. And that's why it's so important. If we go to 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 3, let me get there, and I'm going to read that to you because it's very, very important that you do marry the right person. And so now in marriage, in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 3, and then I'll also read verse 14 to you. And this is out of the King James Version. If I didn't say that, I'm going to say it now. It's the King James Version. It says, verse 3, let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto the husband. That is 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 3. And then verse 14, when you're talking about this mixed marriage stuff, verse 14, for the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. Else were your children unclean, but now are holy. So you have to be careful with, and here in this verse, and I'm going to go back up here to verse 3, the commitment of marriage means that each partner, when I talk about this in verse 3, this commitment of marriage means that each partner relinquishes the exclusive rights to his or her own body and gives the other a claim to it. And also that is neither marriage partner may fail to submit to the normal sexual desires of the other. And then also such desires within marriage are natural and God-given, and to refuse to carry out one's responsibility in fulfilling the other's needs is to open up the marriage to Satan's temptation of adultery. Verse 5 here, I'm going to read it. Defraud you not one the other, except it be with consent for a time, that ye may give yourselves to fasting and prayer and come together again, and Satan tempt you not for your incontinency. So it's very important that you marry the right one, and you value the same things, and you're on the same pages, not just page, because it could be one page that you're on together. But what about all the other pages in the marriage? What about other pages in the book of your marriage that you could be on one page, but then everything else you don't agree on? So you have to be careful with that. So remember, it's not we all on the same page. No, what about the other pages in the book? And then even in verse 14, where I read, for the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife and all of that. When a believer is involved in a marriage with an unbeliever, the marriage as well as the children born to that union are legitimate before God. Now, therefore, the believer should live with the unbeliever, not seek to divide the marriage or the home. So you have to still do what's right, because remember, you're the one chose that spouse. You're the one didn't do your homework. You're the one that didn't look at the other pages and realize that maybe you were unequally yoked on all the other pages, but one page you came together and you were in the same, mindset. But guess what? The important thing is that you were different when it came to, do they seek, holiness. You were different when it came to that, about the, them seeking the commitment to Christ and his standards of holy living. You weren't on the same page with that. You was on the same page with how that woman or man looked. You were looking at the outer appearance. Yeah, you both were on the same page with the looks, right? Oh, he's fair, she's fair. They, we look good together. All of that, you was on the same page. But then you didn't look beyond the outer part when it came down to the real deal and being able to be in a marriage with someone. And so the question is, though, how can a woman be a crown to her husband? Well, she signals to everyone that they should honor and respect their man. So she's letting people know you should honor and respect your husband. And she makes her family rich, Proverbs 31, while she respects her husband, Ephesians 5:33, and encouraging her children, others, to do the same. And how should a wife treat her husband according to the Bible? Well, wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord, for the husband is the head, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything. And so it's just really, really important for for people to come together, but to know each other. So again, a virtuous woman is a crown to her husband, but she that make it ashamed is as rotten as is to the bone. You can be rotten to the bone when it comes down in your marriage if you don't do the things according to the biblical concept and covenant of the marriage. You want to be able to bring happiness, joy, and success in the marriage. You don't want to cause contention and strife in the marriage as a woman. And I understand that we can say that for men as well. But again, this is verse 4 out of Proverbs chapter 12. We're talking about, a virtuous woman is a crown to her husband. But anyway, with that being said, you all, God bless each and every one of you on today. And I do hope that you will stop by and check out these short videos, and that you will share these short videos with others, because they're good to have short ones. They're good for Bible study on our long stuff. But then we also want just some short videos that can help us along the way. So God bless you all on that. Bye.